Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we talk about the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. I'm recording on Friday. It is Rock Cup, and I heard it may be a Scott Porter to Scott Crampton finals in one of the events, potentially. That's what a little birdie told me. So that's going on right now as I am sitting here. So today I ended up getting someone that requests like, "Hey, Dark Logos, why don't you deal with the Attack of the Clones in your next show?" And that would be a good idea. Refocus podcast. That's what we are going to do. We are going to talk about Attack of the Clones and the impact of that. What? And the impact of that on the game and how it affects the meta and what you could do about it. Because realistically, I could say this: I am really no longer part of the clone factory. I don't have enough views anymore. And truth be told, uh, most of the things that I understand are fundamental concepts that are core to the game. And so I'm not necessarily going to be giving you play this, play that, play the other thing. Uh, and the problem that comes in that reinforces the Attack of the Clones is just that. So let's break down Attack of the Clones into different phases, and then for each phase, you're going to be like, oh, well, that makes sense, and you can see clearly how to defeat it. So the first thing that you have to understand is one human truth. I don't care if you don't believe it, but regardless, it's true. Humans go off of efficiency. Humans go off of efficiency. And when you understand that humans go off of efficiency, uh, a lot of things make sense. When you start looking at builds, what is the most efficient figure that does blank? What is the most stat efficient, power efficient, utility efficient, mobility efficient? Okay, that's easy when you start looking at putting together different mechanics. But when you take it to the bigger sphere of things, the first thing is that if Big Brain Winner Guy tells me to play this, and Big Brain Winner Guy is winning, then of course Big Brain Winner Guy is right because uh, he wouldn't be Big Brain Winner Guy without it. And so then people come in and be like, yeah, I really think that Big Brain Winner Guy is on point. And then they will play what Big Brain Winner Guy has just played. Okay? They don't know the ins and outs like Big Brain Winner Guy. They don't know the statistics. They don't know the probability. They don't know you swap for this, for that during these matchups if you're running a swap team, or you play this map and this map, and you have this map to do these other things. They don't. Okay? I know that for a fact. Okay? Now, here is the issue is when people listen to Big Brain Winner Guy, it creates an echo effect. Because all of a sudden, because Big Brain Winner Guy said it, it had to be true, right? So what we have is appeal to authority fallacy into that. Okay, we use appeal to authority fallacy all the time because our brains are lazy. All right, if anyone says the staunchest skeptic, regardless, has applications of faith, because a skeptic does not literally spend all their time questioning every little thing that they deal with. At some point in time, you take something at face value. You sit in a chair, you've sat in a chair 100 times, you're going to believe that the chair isn't going to break on you. You've eaten bread 100 times over thousands of times. You're not going to think that all of a sudden bread is going to eat you from the inside. Okay, there's too many things that statistically might be completely improbable, and things that are completely probable that can happen. But we're not going to spend our energy verifying that those things work, let alone verifying our tools and verifying that they work. Okay, because then you go into the infinite cycle of, what if my tool doesn't work? I use this other tool, then I go to this other tool, tool. It turns into an infinite cycle. So once we understand the concept that humans are energy efficient creatures, then all of a sudden, Attack of the Clones makes sense. Okay? Attack of the Clones makes sense. And then we can look and extrapolate in our local metas why maybe not as big brain winner guy, but big wallet and moderate tactician guy is winning. And so the hierarchy, gets established in the venue, and people are either trying to emulate big wallet winning guy, or they're mad at big wallet winning guy and they're trying to make their own stuff to prove that they're better and everybody should respect them and that they should be the new big wallet winning guy. Okay. Now I know some of these things sound a bit inflammatory, but realistically, these are the generic realities that we're dealing with. Like I've counseled so many clients over the years, and most of the MOs are the same. I don't know how it is in Africa or Australia or freaking Belize or somewhere in South America where you're playing. I don't know what it's about, but I don't doubt that what I'm saying is pretty much a consistent, constant in all games. Okay, it was there when I was playing Universal Fighting System. It was there when I was playing City of Heroes card game. It was there when I was playing Versus for like a hot second. Okay, it's always there. There is a outlier leader that's winning, and everyone trying to win to get the rewards of winning. Okay, so therein lies our first phase of understanding Attack of the Clones and breaking it down. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our second phase, the mainstream media. I joke when I use that, but realistically, when we start talking about our podcast and heroclix, I will say this. All right, the things that you know that are put out there are for general use only. Okay? The things that are put out there are for general use only. Talk to any podcaster and they're going to be honest with you. I'm not telling you everything. I'm telling you enough to be successful. And if you want to go out there and invent something, on your own, you can. There's nothing wrong with that. But do understand, I'm telling you enough to be competitive. I'm not telling you enough so that you come in and beat the brakes off of me with the team I just told you. Now, if you go in and put in your hours, then yeah, and make your changes and understand how you play and understand how the generic works, the default works, and then understand the matchups and systems that you're looking at, and maybe some additional variables, you might be able to come back and beat off the original creator or the progenitor of the team concept that you're dealing with. But the issue is 99% of heroclix players aren't. At least the ones that follow the Attack of the Clone path. Okay? Now, do they understand this? And the answer is, for a good chunk of them, no. Okay? For a good chunk of them, no. Now, you also have folks, I will argue, because I see this in my teammate, Matty G. He will play other teammates' teams, get the rundown. He has enough, understanding of the game. He'll pilot that team just like if he made the team. He has a lot of inherent skill. There are some individuals that have very little team building ability and have high level piloting ability. That's fine. There's usually creators, or we could say mechanics and pilots. Okay, there very rarely do you find a person that's a good mechanic and a good pilot. Okay, so therein lies something therein lies something interesting with that. Okay, so when we come back to our overall reality of the media or our mainstream media of our podcast, are they lying to you? The answer is realistically no. For the majority of podcasts that I've listened to, they've dropped more truth bombs on the community than realistically I've seen in recent years. I mean, in several years, yeah. The current batch of heroclix podcasters truly care about the community more. I'm not going to say like, hey, the OGs didn't care about this, that, and the other. I will say this: I'm Gen 2 podcaster. Gen 1 was, that was a very divisive time in heroclix because it was two middle fingers up to competitive. So again, darker days, darker days. But hey, one of those guys makes all your maps, which no one remembers or knows except for me. And I guess I'm the only one that keeps remembering that little fact. And yes, he makes your rock maps too. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, going back. All right. Is the mainstream media trying to lie to you in the heroclix community? No. Why do I know that? Because the majority, and I'll say this honestly, a majority of your tech comes from Phoenix Nest, or Critical Clicks, or 4 Points. It's your tri conglomerate. Okay. You'll say like, but I listen to JSA podcast, who has Azure Strife, who is Phoenix Nest member. I listen to Clickstoff team. Oh, I listen to Starting Over podcast, the freaking founder of Phoenix Nest. I listen to Critical Clicks, PJ Bolin, Lucas Van Hollen, Phoenix Nest, and Scott, Cran Company, Crampton, 4 Points. Okay, what does that mean? If you look at our winning history is high. Okay, why is that? Because you're not doing the R&D. Okay, and a lot of emphasis on the R. Okay, a lot of people's research is listening to the podcast. Okay, so go back to what I was saying. Humans are efficient. If I do the set review for you, if Scott and Lucas or Scott and PJ do the set review for you, if JSA podcast with Adam Friedman does the review for you, okay, you can listen to the analysis, but did you also go through the set and then intellectually disagree with any of them? I'm betting not. Okay? Because in our minds, we create heroes or demigods or legends of these epic players. And of course, if Michael Jordan told me I was dribbling the ball wrong, I'm going to listen. Heck, if Charles Barkley told me I'm dribbling the ball wrong, I'm going to listen. There is some wisdom in that. But if Charles Barkley is looking over your films and he's making comments, he's looking at it from a perspective of if Charles Barkley was doing it. He's not looking as if you are doing it. And therein lies the bigger disruption that I want you to understand. Okay? Is fundamentally, all of the perspectives that you receive are from the point of view in the skill set of the individuals telling you this. That's it. And when you understand that, then you have to start coming back and asking yourself, what are my skill sets? What are my capabilities? What am I realistically good at? How many figures on a team can I keep track of? How many game mechanics can I keep track of? What do I need to work on in that area? And I'm going to tell you the honest truth. Most people have never asked themselves the fundamental questions of what type of player am I in practice? Okay? An old pickup guru told me, do not listen to what women say, listen to what women do. And I will go with the same thing with anybody that's a player. Do not go with what people have told you what type of player you are, or what you say what type of player you are, or what type of player you like to be. Look at your decisions. If you say you are all in, catch these hands dudes, I love my melee, but 3/4 of your team are range dudes, and your melee guy just happens just to be your closer, I hate to say it, you're not that dude. Okay, you're not catch these hands man. Okay, I know players that are catch these hands mans. Okay, they are all about that melee game. All right, if you don't have 2 to 3 melee options, and that's something that you consider to do consistently, then you are not a catch these hands guy. If you're like, I'm an all rounder, but every game that you play, you are pretty much just constantly putting up barriers and using support. You are not an all rounder. You are a defensive player. Okay, being honest about what type of player you are and stop trying to be somebody else. Stop trying to be someone else. And I was listening to one of the, if you're on YouTube long enough and you look for motivation stuff, you'll end up encountering Goalcast. Okay. And if you don't subscribe to Goalcast or even into motivational stuff, I really encourage you to check that content out. I'm a big Eric Thompson fan. I'm a big Goggins fan, even though I don't recommend Goggins for children, because there's some points in times that you have to hear brutal truths told to you so that you can break yourself to remake yourself into someone better. And I was listening to Goalcast, and the thing that it brought up was, he said, is why you are limited is that you are stuck imitating people that you are not. And you can only go as far as that imitation goes. Okay? You can only go as far as that imitation goes. You're not the real McCoy. You're not PJ Bolin because you listen to him. You're not Lucas Van Hollen because you listen to him. You're not Edward Shelton because you listen to me. You're not Scott Crampton because you listen to him. So why are you running a imitation of his game when you don't think like him, act like him, have the processes of him, or have the experiences of him, or any of us? And therein lies the fundamental problem with majority of players until they reach a team or they get a coach or someone just honestly tells them the truth about who they are, spilling the tea all over their nice fluffy white shirt. Okay? Because until that moment comes where you can honestly say, wow, I am a clone. Until that moment comes, originality won't come. Because this leads to the next part. There is the worship of the mountaintop in the prize. There is the worship of the mountaintop in the prize. I know so many players that want to be a world champion. I know so many players that think that they had a paradise and a dream and they were able to get to the big dance, that they would be on the final table at the end. I have seen it time and time and time and time. and time again that not only could I write a 5-volume series on it, I could probably sell it to Encyclopedia Britannica and compete for the longest series of book knowledge in current modern history. Okay? The reason most people believe that with their modicum of information that they have, that they could go in there with the paradise and the dream, is that either their general understanding is more than good enough, or their informed understanding is more than good enough, or their piloting ability is more than good enough, or their team just has all the perfect counters and it's the perfect form, it's perfect cell. Forget the fact that you have Super Saiyan 3 Gohan. He's about to eat that unless you got Spirit Goku behind him giving some extra Kamehameha. Okay? There is those thought processes that are fundamentally false scaffolding that causes players to fail. Okay? Because there's a hyper dependence on one or two of those mindsets. Okay? All right. Let's go into it. The desire for, and this is the one thing that I've noticed that ends up being the most devastating to humans, not just heroclix players. The desire to be proven right. And I say this as a person that had that desire. The desire to be proven right. My method is correct. My teaching method is correct. My team building method is correct. My recruiting method is correct. My picking boosters method is correct. My dice throwing method is correct. My analysis of the rules is correct. So much mental insecurity and a desire for social validation outside of themselves is just exuded out of a majority of players, that if someone in a round knew how to do it and exploit it, most players would mentally crumble when dealt with their own insecurities and how much pressure it puts on you. And I'll say it for myself because I can't preach about anybody else. Okay, I had mental insecurities about starting the team because when things started off with Phoenix Nest, folks were like, well, who wants to follow Edward? Yeah, he has his team, but look at what he's done. Oh, this team's been around for a little bit. What have they done? Edward's not that threatening of a player. Why are you going to play, why you want to be on his team? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, brother's getting second place at the most difficult rock tournament in the country consistently. And folks just like, man, Edward's time ain't never coming. The Vegeta joke. My number one rival was named Goku. I lost to him several times. I've lost to Adam in the first Rock and Tulsa. I lost to Adam Friedman in the finals, playing Justice League team base versus Shuma Gorath. Like the desire to come back in the community and say it's like my opinions are correct. Get strong. And I'm about to be 40 now, and I started doing these things in my late 20s. So a brother has a ways back of reference. I remember when YouTube paid good. Okay, that's how long I've been at this. But the fact, going back to myself, of what I wanted to prove to the heroclix community that what I was doing, the way that I was seeing things, the way that I was doing all this stuff, all these things were built on me. That when at the end of the day, you were going to acknowledge me. And what reward do you get from that? A pat on the back, someone knowing your name. And when you go home and you deal with all the stress, all the anger and everything else, to go do it again just to get an attaboy? No. It's not worth it. And you can say, but Dark Logos, you won stuff. Dark Logos, you got a team championship. Dark Logos, you got prizing. Dark Logos, you got all this stuff. I'm like, yo, there's folks that have been better than me. that have also sort of come to the same conclusion. At some point in time, you just let all that go. And the problem comes in is that most people, in their desire for acceptance and their desire for recognition, will throw away who they are, put on a mask, get that stormtrooper outfit on, grab that crappy blaster, and get out on that battlefield to be the last man standing. Meanwhile, the Jedis are running around like, do these dudes not know about force powers? Do these dudes not know about force powers? Because for force powers are pretty cool, and they're unique, and they can be tailored to the individual. Freaking Mace Windu made a sand wave by punching the ground. I'm just saying. Okay? So we go into that next thing, the desire for stuff. Folks love to think, oh man, if I just was winning, I would have all this prize support, and then I'd be able to just constantly keep winning and keep it snowball winning and winning and winning. It's your avarice that comes up and grabs you. Okay? Okay? And here's the truth. I'll tell you, from lots of winning and lots of prize support, it's a lot of collecting dust. It's a lot of collecting dust. And for example, I brought up in the past, I did speech and debate as a high schooler in college. I got national trophies. I got state championships, plural. Okay? I have tournament after tournament, first place trophy, first place medal, this, that, and the other. All them things collect dust. I got so many of them. My mom said she put some in the basement. I didn't even know. And I know I at least broke 3. Okay? You'd be like, Dark Logos trophies and prize support are different things. No, they're fundamentally the same. They are the trophy that says that you won. They are the trophy that says that you beat this person. They are the trophy that says that you went 3-0 or 4-0 in a matter of a short span of time. It's satisfying to crush somebody and to have your boot on their neck, metaphorically. That's one of the reasons why I played chess. That's one of the reasons why early on I played heroclix. Because when you feel powerless, it feels very powerful to crush somebody and not go to jail. It really does. That's why you will also see most of the Attack of the Clones people have a good amount of biting words for you when they lose. Because you've tapped in to not only their insecurity, but also their avarice. Because if you start coming in and taking away that prizing because you're a Jedi, not even a Jedi Knight. I mean, you can Padawan half these. You can be a Padawan and topple over half these clones. Okay? It starts causing major disruptions, and they're frustrated at you. They're angry at you. They have words for you, and you're sitting back like, where did all this come from? But you've tapped into the main reason that they're a clone. You know, they're Kabutobo Jutsu with Naruto. There's 1,000 of them on the field. And they run to their deaths and poof, go away. And you'd be like, and then they're mad because they maintain the memory of their death to you. You know, you're Madara to them. They'd be like, what? Like, it's like Madara versus the Shinobi army. That's who you are to them. Okay? And it's like, but they're 80 guys doing the water jutsu and the wave come, and Madara is just like, meteor. I take your technique and kill you. You threw that knife at me, I catch it, and then I take that explosive thing, slap that other dude's head. He's going to die from that. Then I take that knife, stab him in the throat, then kick his body towards you, go rip the other dude's sword out, and I'm going to slice you. All right, let's go. I will body you. And see, and that's what the clone wants to be. The clone doesn't want to be the clone. The clone wants to be Madara. The clone wants to be the Jedi. Hell, the clone wants to be Naruto. Okay? But the problem comes in is the weights that are stopping them from getting to that point. They'll be like, I'm going to practice, bro. I'm going to practice. You're going to practice being somebody else. You'll never know your full potential. And you know, I'm not going to go and deep psych everybody and saying like you still want to be your daddy or you're hurt from your coach back in high school. You know, again, I don't get paid for that. Heck, I don't even have ads turned on YouTube anymore. Haven't had that for years. I haven't gotten a cent of it from YouTube previously. Not going to get a cent now. But when all is said and done, usually a desire to be recognized, envy, or a desire for things are the main drives. Very rarely do you actually see a desire to contribute. Not be proven right, but to be part of the conversation. Not to be the conversation. Not to be the source. Okay? And therein lies a huge fault with a lot of individuals once they start approaching the situation. In their local venue, they want to be the source of the meta. They want to be the guy. Okay? Even when I was playing more here in my local scene in Kansas City or when I was back in Tulsa, I would say, hey, yo, this is my thoughts. And occasionally my locals would give me better opinions, unique perspectives, ideas that I took to Phoenix Nest and we made teams out of, or I made teams out of. Why? Because I'm old enough, I'm mature enough, and I'm over, 80% of my insecurity to say, I don't have to be right. Someone else can be right. But I put in the work and understand what do I need to do. Okay. All right. So when we understand these three phases, these three important things for the clone, the humans are efficient, your mainstream media, aka your podcast, and your insecurities, the human insecurities, you can start seeing why, Palpatine keeps ordering these clones, because they bring out the dark side of the Force in people. And the dark side is very addictive. Okay? The dark side's very addictive, but it also has cookies and Force lightning. So take it as you wish. All right. So how do you separate yourself from being a clone? And you're probably going to say, Dark Logos, give us the wisdom so that we can be free from being a clone. And then my first wisdom, the bit of wisdom that I would tell you is, look inside you, son, and study thyself. Study yourself. That's the first thing. Like, most people don't ever travel up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We definitely have a society that wants to Facebook you, Netflix you, Uber Eats you out of making sure that you are not up there. Ding, did you just get 5 other notifications in the middle of, speaking of which, getting a phone call while communicating your thoughts? Because telling you the truth, most people would end up giving up who they are to be someone else and hate who they are at the end of the day if being someone else meant that they were winning. Being 100 about that. And so when we start stepping away from that and you find out, hey, who is the authentic self? Who am I? How do I play? What is my inherent thought process? Then you have to start doing the lifts. You have to start experimenting with things. You have to start thinking of new ideas. You have to start going through the process of losing so you can inevitably win. You have to go through the process of losing to inevitably win. What do I mean by that? There are days that I've played teams that I knew were not top shelf teams so that I could get better, so I could place better, I can be more creative, force myself to look at the map differently, force myself to look at a different situation, another light, try to squeeze every little bit I could out of a mediocre special power so that I could get that last extra bit of reach, that last extra bit of damage, that plus one more attack due to that weird circumstance that's built into that ability, to that trait. Uh, you got to put in the time, and the attack of the clones is no different than the mental is no different than steroids. You want to be swole, but in the end, you don't want to diet. You don't want to bulk. You don't want to put on the weight properly. You want the shortcut. You want the easy road. Okay? And so going through the failure, if you have massive amounts of insecurities, going through the failure is impossible because then you have to deal with what is this game, what is the need that is being scratched by the way that you're playing this game being a clone. And that's to deal with a lot of your insecurities and to deal with your shortcomings. And I say you as a general you, I'm not, And so now you're, as an individual, trying to find out what your superpower is, trying to find out, what league you're actually in. If you're not willing to experiment, do the work, and grow yourself, then the question comes in is, are you willing to be a clone to the end? Okay. Now, I will say this, and this has been one of my shortfalls as a player, and it has been this. I am freaking Kakashi Sensei so bad. Okay? I will clone your jutsu as soon as I see it. I will do the hand signals with you. And I'll have the freaking dragon snake flowing with you. I'm from, Hidden Water Village, all of a sudden. Like I'm, for the mist all of a sudden. And it's like, for the sand all of a sudden. Like I'll copy your style of play and play it like you. If I get your game film, I'll play it like you. I'll understand it like you. I've had to watch enough games to know how players play. But what ended up happening is that in me being this sort of illusionary clone, I'm able to practice with other people and give them a mockery to fight that is close to the original, an effigy, if you will, of the original for them to beat up. And that's good in training. That's good in training. But when you're developing yourself, you never push past the mockery because you're always waiting for somebody else to show you the next jutsu. Yeah, I could, given the capabilities, like a character like Jakeem or a pick a power character, I can freaking, 1,000 jutsu most average players. Okay? That's okay for your Madara moment when it's one man versus a whole, shinobi army, because those dudes are nothing but clones. You didn't see Naruto and freaking Kabuto even get waxed like that. No. Main characters in the back waiting for their moment. Okay? I can call Meteor on the average player given the right team. They won't know what happened. They'll be like, yo, I just got smoked. I've never been smoked like that before. It's like I was dry kindling on a bonfire. What happened? I got Dark Logos. Okay? But when it comes to these, determine your top 100, top 50 players in the world, you be like, yo, Dark Logos, you on the top side of the mountain, but you ain't that far, top. Like you're in that top 40, top 30, top, like you're not on, number one at breaks. You're not number five at breaks. What's going on? And I came to realize is this: everyone that I learned from was teaching things that were not me. I was learning the attributes to be better at the game and elements of the game in which I was fully weak of, but they were not. But those elements were not me. And I've been taught by some of the best players in the game, just due to my access at the quarry, to having great relationships with great players, having practice partners that are phenomenal. But the thing that I had to come back is say it's like Dark Logos, you're a defensive player. It doesn't matter how much shenanigans you know. Does not matter how much efficiency you know. Does not matter how much aggro you know. If you do not have the ability to develop your defensive game and know how to utilize that, you're always going to be at that point where it's a imitation. There's that wall that's being hit, and it knocks. Like every time your head goes up to it, there's that knock and that pressure that builds. It's like, why can't I go further? And it can be haunting, but that cracking of that barrier comes in accepting that, look, okay, not every stage of the game is built for my style of play, but for right now, I am going to maximize my own skill set, my natural inherent skill sets, and then pick up additional skill sets to supplement my main skill set. Okay? I can go and I can tell you that there are at least 4 to 5 different skills that an average player doesn't have, that has nothing to do with the figures on their board or how to move them. And most people may be able to think of one, and if you're lucky, 2 of them. Okay? And they're distinct things, and I'm not going to go into all of them, but I'll give you one, yeah, because I'm a nice guy, And it goes like this. How many people can glance at the other end of the board and know what their opponent's team does within a minute? How much time have you put in to quickly analyzing teams? Now, if you hear the breakdown over the podcast, Thanos team works like this, X-Men swap works like that, Justice League works like this, Chris Cakes, serves you food like this. Like, I kid a little bit, but whether it's Jason Wingard or some other variant of Sky Tyrant or Monsters or whatever, when you hear it from a podcast and they tell you what they can do and then how the team plays and you hear the rundown and you may have practiced it once, but do you actually know the tempo of that team and how that's going to actually affect your opening first 3 to 4 turns? Most folks don't. And so they set up in an inefficient manner. Yeah, they're doing their standard placement, but they don't, consider the fact that, hey, they'll need to move a perplexer one further square over. It needs to be specifically against, right next to this type of carry, because once the engage happens, if it operates in the standard modus operandi, it's going to get murked on turn 3, and you're going to need that piece on turn 4 so that you can take out the crux of your opponent's team on turn 4 to start building momentum to end the game on turn 7. just based off of tempo. So I could say that from dancing, and dancing taught me a lot about tempo. I have old podcasts about tempo. And some folks will be like, yeah, this is one of those what's inside your head moments. But legitimately, when people believe that the majority of this game is just statistics and just building the right teams and having the right figures, I'm like, you're naive. And starting to develop and understand those things that make you a better player, you only find those things out through pain. You only find those things out through losing. You have to have somebody show you that you are lacking to understand where you can grow. But if you shortcut looking at how you are lacking, if you shortcut the path forward, the only thing left is the shadow on the wall in the allegory of the cave, in Plato's allegory of the cave. You believe the shadow puppets on the wall are real, and it is not. You're being played. But in this case, the person that's playing you is yourself. The person that's playing you is yourself. And so, going to a world's tournament, is that the place to start experimenting? No, it's not. Going to Rock Cup, is that the time to start experimenting? No, it's not. It's in the meantime. It's in the little times. It's in the tournament that really isn't for prize support. And instead of just trying to go up there and try to wax everybody to prove that you're the man or the woman, for the two women that are listening to my show, you go and you experiment with concepts and tech that people aren't playing. You go see, why are people overlooking these things? What are the real limitations of that? Like, so that you could just go through and say like, oh, okay, that I already know where that's going to go. That's the limitations of that. The game's like this right now. This is only going to get you this far. There's this, older piece that does that better. And oh yeah, I remember when I played this other experimental piece, it was able to give me something similar to this effect for cheaper. So guess what? A lot of people forgot about that figure because, again, the new shiny popped out. So I'm going to go play that figure, and I'm going to go and drop a 10-ton, iron weight on their head and make their brains explode with the level of meta that I'm producing. But it takes experimental. It takes pain to get there. It takes losing to get there. It takes time to get there. Because I know at this stage, some people are like, well, Dark Logos is on that Mr. Miyagi stuff right now, and he's not giving us anything concrete and blah, blah, blah. Okay, if the self-actualization stuff isn't hitting, and let's just take it and move it forward. If the self-actualization stuff isn't hitting, then the question comes in is, why aren't you just counter-meting or providing the counter meta? There we go. All right. If everyone is given the secret sauce, then why don't you just be the fly in the ointment? For example, let's take Big Daddy Thanos, for example. All right. If someone's going to attack the clones, and they keep going, Thanos, okay? Why don't you just have something as simple as emotional modifier? Okay? That helps solve for the mind control, but then it's like, okay, well, what about he'll still just shoot me, Dark Logos. He'll still just shoot me, Dark Logos. I'm like, okay, you can have multiple colossal retaliators that are able to get through. Oh, but he'll put up all these barriers. Okay, can you have a chance of winning map? Does your plan change? Okay, what about that? Okay, what about running White Queen? Oh, White Queen's about to retire. Okay, what about Bishop? Okay, is that too much of a problem for you? Okay, no, I really want to have this Prime, Dark Logos. Okay. All right, Well, what about Destroyer? And then making sure that you're able to get your equipments. Oh, but still, he'll go tag Destroyer later. Well, in most Thanos teams, Thanos is the only attacker. I mean, you could say, oh, look, here's Thanos and Sky Tyrant, but that's a completely different setup. You're opening yourself up to a couple other different type of theme teams, but I digress, and I'm picking on Thanos just because he's the hotness. Um, but when we take these moments and we notice that the clones are getting outrageous, then why aren't you just designing the disease that just kills the clones? The team is impossible to defeat, Dark Logos, because so you fell into the clone mindset. That's really what it is as well. You fell into the clone mindset. And so you will start to understand that the self actualization part is important. It is important because if you do not deal with that part, you will not have the mindset or the willingness to struggle, to suffer, to deal with the pain, to find the solutions to your problems. You just won't. And so you will not develop fortitude. So while the what's inside your head, some people might say is woosah, stuff sounds hippy dippy, and the long haired hippie people need not apply. I understand how that feels because it's easy for me to tell you, do this. It's real easy for me to tell you, do this. The problem comes in is that if I keep telling you, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you don't have any self development independent of me, I will always be your wall. I will always be your wall. And I know, hey, you're here to listen for heroclix advice. Fully understand that. I understand that. Okay? You're listening to the other podcast for heroclix advice. Fully understand that. You're trying to get better. This may be your first step in getting better. I fully understand that. Congratulations. But I am going to tell you this. If this is your only step, if this is your only method moving forward, if there isn't some point where you can say, Dark Logos is a mentor of mine, but I don't always take his advice. PJ Bolin is a mentor of mine. I don't always take his advice, but I have learned a lot from them. Once you get to the point where you're able to say that, then you're grown. But if you're holding on to what any of us are saying in the podcast realm, like we hold the golden egg and the elixir of life and the philosopher's stone, you're always going to be limited by us. Okay, and I give this prime example from Phoenix Nest. I have, and I can be blessed to say this. I have some of the top builders and pilots in the game on my team. I will fight tooth and nail to defend that statement. Okay? I don't care if you call us David. I don't care if you call us Goliath. I don't care if you call us Megatron or Omicron. I have some of the best players and pilots and team builders on my team, and some of the greatest minds that design the tech that folks are trying to clone off of are on my team. And those minds don't agree. Being 100. So how are you going to come to a point that this is the best, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best? Of course, this is the best. When I can get the top players in the game in one room consistently and listen to them disagree on what is the best. And you want to know why they can do that? they've all been through the pain. They've all been through the self-discovery. They've all been through the hours and the time looking for the next adjustment, the next thing that you can do. Oh, this fails with this obvious flaw here that's common in the game right now. I need to completely scratch this. Where do I come back to? And occasionally they'll talk to me. And then I'll throw in some oddball thing, and I'm the finisher sometimes. Or I'm the guy, like, back in my day, we didn't have spaceships like this. Okay? So if that doesn't strike you, I don't know what will. If that doesn't help you get removed from Attack of the Clone Land, I don't know what will. Cloning is good to learn from. It is not something to embed yourself in. I have played a multitude of different types of teams, a multitude of different types of styles for one key reason: team events. If I'm on a team event in a sealed environment, I have no clue what type of style I'm going to have to play. And I have two other guys depending on me. They're not depending on the perfect little team that I get to construct. They're not depending on the perfect pull. Because, buddy, I can tell you, I've been top 4 with horrible pulls and one of my teammates not winning a game. Okay? So you can't come at me like, oh, well, Dark Logos, of course you pull great and you have like the best teammates ever. I have been to the mountaintop and I can tell you, being at that dance, that you don't get to have all of the perfections in teams that you have in 300 Modern. But being forced to diversify showed me a lot of weaknesses in how I see the game. And then being taught a multitude of views in each area has refined how I see the game. There are things that I have in my brain that are in contradiction to another thing that I also hold when it comes to the game. And I know when each is situationally true. But that's because I took the time to learn how to play other styles. Okay? Now, I know, and some folks will be like, oh, shoot, is he shooting shots at Thanos? He's shooting shots about diversity? Is he shooting shots at Dan? No, I'm not. I'm not shooting shots at anyone. I'm not shooting shots at anyone. And I want to make it clear. And in particular, is Dan, for example, has a very clear style of constant practice and perfecting what he creates, which is primarily in the last few years a very tentpole, very hard to kill me style. You're not going to score a lot of points against Dan. Okay, your dice can be on fire like NBA Jam '98. That's how you're going to beat Dan in most cases if you're going to take over 100 plus points off of him. Okay? Just being 100. All right. That serves Dan and Dan's goals. That doesn't serve me and my goals. So let Dan do Dan and I'll do me. You do you. Okay? You can come in with the Dark Logos mindset of playing a bunch of different things and learning a bunch of different skill sets. Or you can play the Dan version or go to the Dan school of thought and have one thing that you play over and over and over again. But I still would encourage you go through the pain. Don't just blindly do it because you followed winners. I'm not asking you to reinvent the wheel, but I am asking you to do the work. And most people just think the work is practicing, and it's not. That truthfully is the easy part. And I'll lean in and tell you a little secret too. Most people don't even practice right. Most people don't even practice right. They just think doing reps is going to make them magically be better. And I'll tell you 100%. I have teams that I've played 5 times. I've beat people that played their team 500 times. But they were clones. They were clones. They weren't ready for anything new. They were ready for the standard array of teams. And I come in with something, with freaking Silver Surfer. And they're like, what the heck is this? I was not ready for Silver Surfer and Prime Surfer. What is going on? Why is this? This is not what I signed up for. Why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, he's good. And I was lazy. And I beat people I wasn't supposed to beat. If practicing was all there was. So, I want to leave you with this thought. And this is important for folks out there that they're like, can you take me higher? And they want to go up there with Creed and be on the mountaintop and taste that victory air and be with the Dr. Disrespect crowd of being in the Champions Club. And I love me some Dr. Disrespect. Okay. And I'm going to give you the honest truth. The ones that get recruited aren't the clones. The ones that get recruited are the ones that do something different, prove themselves that their methodology has some degree of soundness, that their play style has a degree of foundation that can be improved upon. Those people get recruited. The yes men and the soldier 005 through 23895, they end up in the local team and they're the best of the local team. But they never really get to a big team or very rarely make a big splash. They go to the con with their local guy shirt, and I'm not going to hate on that. But if you're like, I know all this tech, and so I'm like Phoenix Nest and 4 points and clicked off and blah blah, and like, nope, no, you're not. You're not. You're a clone. You're a clone. Now, if you want to be a real boy, we could teach you how to be a real boy. But I already have the real PJ Bolin. I don't need the clone PJ Bolin. I already have the real Wesley Summers. I don't need the clone Wesley Summers. I already have the real Lucas Van Hollen. I don't need the clone Lucas Van Hollen. I mean, I'm Dark Logos. I don't need the Dark Logos clone. What I need is to have someone that brings something that I don't have. That's value. But no one ever taught half these folks that want to be on teams now what value is, because again, they think value is just dubs. Now, if your team is new, I'm on B100, dubs is quite valuable. Your team is older, dubs is cheap. And the one thing, I'm not going to belittle anyone's wins on my team. But when I look through, we have a little catalog of like, hey, sort of like, yeah, good job. We got a lot of dubs. Okay? Got a lot of dubs. Folks worked hard to develop their tech. There's a lot of dubs. Okay? So I can be like, you offer me, dubs? I'm like, I don't need that. You're just running PJ's Tech. Okay. Your piloting skills are okay. You don't want. You got a decent record. Okay. You don't really have a thought in your head that hasn't been put there by us or somebody else already in the community. Okay. Like, if I had a JV team, I would put you on it. But when PJ starts talking and another teammate starts talking and the fourth teammate starts talking and Lucas starts talking and they all disagree, where are you going to stand? Or are you going to just be swinging back and forth between what PJ said and what Lucas said? Or will you actually have an opinion in your brain? And would it be backed up by any experience? And that's the thing. I guess it's a more modern thing. Folks think that just because that they're special. That they did some work, that they're special. No. Create something. Work hard to refine it. And when you have a polished product that has proven itself, then you can start talking about being special when nothing else is matching what you're doing. But until then, you're average at best. There we go. All right, that's it for today's show. I like to thank you all for listening. I'm not necessarily saying I'm getting in the full back of swing of things, but for requests, if y'all want me to do more what's inside of your head stuff, just put in the comments below, and then I will try to put a show based off of the request. So this is from Refocus Podcast. He did request this show, and so shout outs to him, because being 100, it's like I'm doing this for an audience of maybe 100 people at max, about 30 people on average, 30 views on average. So take it as you will. So that's it. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and remember, we all have to start over sometime.